Hola, mi amigos, and welcome to WatchGuard Security Week in Review, a video podcast dedicated to quickly summarizing the biggest information and network security stories each week and to sharing some practical security tips along the way. As always, I'm your host and security aficionado, Corey Nachreiner, and this is the episode for the week starting June 17th, 2013. I need to make this episode short, so let's dive right in, first with software updates. This week, Oracle released a big Java update fixing 40 security vulnerabilities in the very popular web plugin. Java is very targeted right now. Attackers are going after Java quite aggressively. So I highly recommend if you use Java, you definitely need to install this update as quickly as possible. If you have no need for Java, I recommend you don't install it at all. And even if you do install it, do know Java has a special configuration where you can actually disable it in your web browser, even if you need it on your computer for other applications. So if you don't need Java for web browsing at least, you might want to disable it in your web browser. Oh, and I also forgot, to coincide with this Java update, Apple also released a OS X version of a Java update. So if you're an Apple user, be sure to get that Java update as well. So the whole PRISM NSA snooping incident has been the talk of the industry all this week too, so there's a couple updates I want to share. First, at the beginning of the week, both Microsoft and Facebook shared some details about what kind of information or the amount of information they disclosed to the NSA or the US government. For instance, Microsoft says they've disclosed about 6,000 to 7,000 different records or instances, and Facebook said 9,000 to 10,000 within a 6-month period ending in December of 2012. Now, in both cases, Microsoft and Facebook both say this represents a fraction, a tiny percentage of their actual customer data. So they're trying to illustrate that there's not a lot of disclosures. On top of that, Google really wants to be transparent with what they're sharing with the government as well, but apparently the government is asking them not to, so they've submitted some petitions to try to share information with people, so maybe we'll hear from them in the future. The good news is it does have people in Congress and in Senate discussing these issues openly, so maybe we will get more transparency as far as what the U.S. government can get from private industry and how much of a warrant they need, if these are warrantless taps or something they need to get a warrant for. By the way, one other story I saw was a Bloomberg story where they actually accused Microsoft of giving zero-day exploits to the NSA. Now, personally, I think this story is a little bit overstated. What it sounds like they're talking about is Microsoft's MAP program. This stands for Microsoft Active Protection Partner Program. And this is a program they have with the security industry. Essentially, with partners like WatchGuard and Kaspersky and many virus partners and intrusion prevention partners, Microsoft allows you to sign up to get early access to Microsoft Patch Day information. Essentially, a month before Patch Day, they share any details they have about certain exploits, especially public exploits that have proof of concept code. And they share this information in hopes that you can write signatures, or your security company can write signatures to protect customers from this. So this, in my opinion, MAP is a very good program of Microsoft. It helps security companies secure customers. And if they're sharing this type of data with the government and NSA as well, it sounds like they're sharing it in hopes that the NSA can use it to protect their organizations. So I think the whole allegation that Microsoft is sharing zero-day with the NSA so that they can attack people is probably a bit overstated. Anyways, those are the PRISM updates. I expect people to be talking about PRISM for a long time to come, so keep your ear out. Another semi-NSA related story is one of a researcher sharing information about vulnerabilities in video surveillance equipment. An ex-NSA employee plans on giving a presentation at Black Hat disclosing security vulnerabilities in some video gear, including some stuff that comes from Cisco, D-Link, and TrendNet. Essentially vulnerabilities that attackers can leverage to view these video cameras over a network and essentially see what you're doing. Now this is really nothing new. A couple months ago, H.D. Moore disclosed some information in some video conference calling equipment. So we've seen these kind of vulnerabilities before, but it's definitely a talk to keep your eye out for at the upcoming Black Hat. So it's not that new, and yet it's something you should definitely worry about. If you have a webcam, you might think about putting a piece of tape over it when you're not using it, just to protect your privacy. Now, of course, if you don't have malware on your computer, you're probably protected as well, but just an extra little tip is to throw a piece of tape over your webcam when you're not using it. Another interesting story is one of the co-founders of a popular piracy site, the Pirates Bay, has been jailed for 2 years. Now, surprisingly, he hasn't been arrested and jailed for piracy, but rather hacking. According to allegations, he hacked into a number of computers doing things like money transfers, illegal unauthorized money transfers, but also attacking some police or government-related computers and downloading tons of files that contain personal information of policemen and other government officials. So he has been sentenced for this hacking and apparently is going to go to jail for 2 years. So I kind of also want to share some fun Friday news, but there's kind of some awkward news to share. If you remember lots of episodes back, a few months ago, I had a lot of stories involving John McAfee, one of the founders of the popular antivirus and security company. Now, he had been accused of murder in Belize, and a whole lot of hoopla happened where he ran away to different countries and eventually made it back to the USA. But all has been quiet on the John McAfee front over the past few months. However, this week he released a really weird video. Now, the video is technically about how you uninstall McAfee's antivirus product, because even though he has nothing to do with McAfee anymore, apparently a lot of people ask him how to uninstall the product. Now, I'm not sure whether or not to recommend this video to you. In fact, I'm not going to link it in the reference section. I'm going to leave it up to you to find it if you're interested, because there's some inappropriate content that's probably not safe for companies or organizations. Nonetheless, he's definitely still quite an eccentric character, so it reminds me that John McAfee is still around, and we'll see what happens with this whole murder case in the future. So let's end with a quick tool tip. I've talked about Microsoft's EMET, or the Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit, before. This is a toolkit that helps prevent memory corruption type vulnerabilities. Even if a Microsoft Windows product suffers from some sort of memory corruption, EMET is designed to make it very, very difficult for attackers to exploit that vulnerability and execute code using it. Anyways, I've talked about this tool before, but the news is Microsoft released the final version of EMET 4.0, and this has a lot of updates, including some GUI improvements that should make it easier to use. So if you haven't checked out Microsoft EMET, I recommend you go download it. I'll make sure to put a link to it in the reference section associated with this video. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you learned something useful. As always, come check us out at the WatchGuard Security Center blog. We post more timely stories there as they happen, so you might want to check it out for more regular updates. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm @SecAdept, or follow WatchGuard @WatchGuardTech. And as I say every week, here at WatchGuard, we're rooting for you.